Welcome to the NetHunter podcast, where we talk about the big questions of a hacker's journey, developing all NetHunter in your pocket or your wrist. Hey, today we have the Nexmon team straight from Germany. I would like to welcome you, Matthias and Jacob. How are you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Hello,
How
Attila.
are you?
How are you?
I'm fine. Yes, it's getting a bit darker here, but yeah, let's get into it.
So you're using Kali Linux as your daily distribution?
Yeah, most of the things it's okay for. Yeah, of course. The only reason we use the Windows is for watching movies, really. It's no other use. But of course, if I need to use Office, then I have virtual desk. What is it called? VMware. First, let's go straight into it. How did you guys get into cybersecurity or IT in general and to the next one developing?
So I think for me it started when I was a teenager. When you bought a game back then in the days, you always had your physical media you had to put in your computer. So I was always curious to know about all those no CD cracks and so on, how they worked, because it made your life easier, right? This is when I somehow got interested in the topic of reverse engineering. But I have to admit that back in the day, without proper decompilers, there were only disassemblers. It was very hard to understand the code. And today, when we were reverse engineering the Wi-Fi firmwares based on the ARM thumb instruction set, it was much simpler, I would say, to understand it and to reverse engineer it. And another important event for me was also still back in school. I went to CeBIT with my father, and there was a presentation about Wi-Fi hacking. So it was one of the first Wi-Fi devices they had. And they presented how they somehow reverse engineered the Windows driver, built a Linux driver, added monitor mode and frame injection to it. And I liked it so much that I bought my own Wi-Fi card, started war driving around, and it was a very nice time back then. Yeah, and after my studies, I started at the Secure Mobile Networking Lab, and there started to develop the Nexmon framework. Which was somehow rounding up this little experience in Wi-Fi hacking, right?
Oh, that's really nice. So you had a really big journey on there, and it's like it's a little bit interesting that it kind of started when it was the like social media wasn't really kicking in, and you couldn't get the information that easy as today. How about you, Jacob?
Well, for me, it also started quite early. So some back, I don't know, maybe when I was 14 or so. I got into web development because my mother wanted to have a website, and I thought, well, then just build one. This at some point, obviously, you come into touch with security issues in this kind of stuff, and I got hooked up with all kinds of yeah exploitation vulnerabilities and so on. Um, then also got deeper into like low-level stuff. Reverse engineering actually was never such a thing for me until I ended up writing my bachelor's thesis with Matthias. I've never actually had done anything like this before, and during this work, I learned, I teach myself how to reverse engineer this kind of stuff. Of course, under the supervision of Matthias, and since then, I'm really hooked up with it and like it so much that I'm still doing it.
And that's really lucky because you helped me develop and pretty much done most of the help for me with the TicWatch Pro 3 injection. So, and after 3 years, countless emails, I think it was more than 100 emails discussing that and developing that. It turned out that there are two watches, two variants, which uses different chipsets. And the second one, like fortunate and unfortunate, it's a different topic, but the second one was working straight out of box with one of the Raspberry firmwares. So yeah, I just thought that, okay, here goes another 3 years. But no, luckily that was like working straight out of box. But I was thinking if it goes the opposite way, if I discover the first one that it will work straight out of the box, I think I would never talk to you and we will never really jump into it. And even though this is not like C programming and like reverse engineering is not really my topic or my table, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, in the first few months, actually, I was like sitting in front of it, like was looking at it. I couldn't understand the thing, but yeah, thank you for your help. So with the Nexmon, just how did you think, or how did you get the idea that it could be reversed and the virus injection can be applied or used in it?
Yeah, so back in the day, my intention was not to build somehow a firmware patch that allows monitor mode and frame injection, but I was researching in the field of physical layer security, and my intention actually was to build a covered channel over Wi-Fi. So I already implemented it on software-defined radios and so on, and then I thought it would be nice to have this running on an off-the-shelf device just as a demonstrator, you know. And then I found two projects on the internet. One was MonMob and the other one was BCMon. And both of them reverse engineered firmwares for Broadcom chips and added monitor mode and frame injection to them. So I found them very nice. The downside was I think they didn't really publish the source code. They just had the firmware binary published. And yeah, they were limited to certain phones. And so I thought, yeah, it is somehow possible to patch the firmware, right, on that phone. Maybe I can do something similar and bring my cover channels to firmware. And yeah, when you're a PhD student at the CIMO lab, normally you can offer theses to students. And so I offered a thesis to implement this kind of covered channel in a real Wi-Fi chip, and found a student. It was Daniel Wegemer back then, who started the first reverse engineering of the firmware. He was quite successful, but it turned out it was harder than expected, and implementing this full-fledged cover channel didn't work out so far. He also started writing his first patches in assembly, and I said, yeah, it's nice, but I don't really want to write code in assembly because it's tedious and so on and so forth. And therefore, I was starting with the idea to develop a framework where you can write your patches in C, compile them, and somehow insert them in an already existing firmware binary. And this is when the Nexmon firmware patching framework came out. So I gave him the possibility to write his patches in C, and he started the first monitor mode patch. So it took a couple of additional students until we had injection running. That was a little harder to understand because we didn't know which kind of structures to pass to the functions, how to fill them up correctly, and so on. Doing this with static reverse engineering was somehow hard. So I started building a debugger that is allowing you to set breakpoints and so on in a running firmware on the chip without being able to connect an external debugger. And that helped us a lot to develop those injection patches. And yeah, finally, a couple of years later, Jakob succeeded in implementing the cover channel I was actually planning to aim for when I started the whole project, right?
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, timelines merged together. Yeah, you must have a good team there. Which one was the first phone actually that you fiddled with? And yeah, how did you get how did you realize that that can be reversed?
Yeah, the first phone was a Nexus 5. The reason is it was easy to root. We had a lot of them lying around at the university for research purposes. And yeah, this is just how we got started. And this
Yes.
is also how we came to the name Nexmon, because of Nex for Nexus and Mon for monitor mode. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I think when I realized or when I discovered that any phone, I mean that actually there is a phone that can do internal virus injection, then I was a bit sad because Nexus 5 was kind of running out, like running old, and I couldn't get a cheap one. But in the same time, it started to be like really slow, even the used ones. Yeah, started just getting too old. Then the Nexus 6P came up, but that had some issues with the eApple data. So we are really glad. I mean, that I can say that in the name of the community, that we are really thankful for the S10 patch that you guys did. Even I think it was Marcus as well, who did the S10, yeah, Samsung S10 patch. And that's a really big use now. Are you using any of these devices in your everyday life?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, obviously, I use a smartphone every day, and I actually currently own like a Pixel 7, and yeah, it also comes with a Broadcom Wi-Fi chip, and of course, you can do any kinds of stuff with it. I have a lot of ongoing research where I also use the Pixel 7, but I mean, I also already looked into the newer phones, so like Pixel 8, 9, and 10, and they also all come with Broadcom Wi-Fi chips, and I already basically started working with them. So yeah, probably at some point they will end up in the Nextmon repository too.
yes, yeah, I see the Pixel 8 showing up. Yes, and oh yeah, and even now I noticed the S22 Plus. I think I haven't seen that a few months ago. And do you guys do, or at least Jacob, do you use any graphical interface, or you just basically do use the shell or terminal on your phone, or just doing from PC like ADB shell?
Usually when working with the phones, I mean, I try to avoid to work on the phone itself as much as possible. So I do everything
Hmm.
on my machine. Um, and yeah, if I have to connect to the phone, I do everything over ADB.
Oh, and I remember you recently did some Raspberry as well. I know the Kali community was really happy for, I think it was a new Raspberry 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so the nice thing about the Raspberries is that since the 3B Plus up to the 5, they all come with the exact same Wi-Fi chip, or
Uh-huh.
at least with the same chipset. Um, I think they changed the manufacturer at some point, but it's the same chipset. Um, so yeah, I mean, the basically it's you can use the same firmware on any of those.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, yeah, and then going back to the naming. So yeah, the Nexmon, I think the Nexmon is really a really good name for it. And yeah, yeah, coming from the Nexus phones, yeah, it makes sense. But and then it's just you're having the X in there with a bit of Google coloring. Yeah, it's really nice and kind of represents the thing. And I think I saw that you also, yeah, and you also mentioned that you were doing software-defined radio and Bluetooth in these firmwares or some firmwares. Um, can you let us know how this is applicable, or what are the current development of those modules?
Yeah, I think it's not one of the major features that people are using the framework for. But when I was reverse engineering the firmware, you might ask, how did we come up with all the firmware names, right? So sometimes Broadcom added some debug messages to functions. And in the debug messages, the string of the function name was included. And so I found a function that had the name sign inside, like the sign function, right? And I didn't see it called anywhere, so I think it was part of the boot ROM. In the firmware that is loaded into RAM during startup, it was not used, but it turned out that it's generating IQ samples. So those are the samples for the complex numbers you have in your Wi-Fi baseband. and they are normally then up converted to the carrier frequency and sent out, right? And I was wondering why this function existed, and I assume it is maybe for calibration purposes or something like this. So first of all, I didn't know how to call that function, but after a lot of tinkering, I finally managed to see some sign being sent out from my phone, and I was very happy at that point in time. And then I asked myself, yeah, how can I sell this in some kind of research paper, because that is what we normally have to do at the university, like writing research papers. And so that brought me to another project, which is the Wi-Fi jammer, where I use the self-generated signals to efficiently destroy Wi-Fi transmissions while they are being still on the air, so that other devices cannot receive frames anymore, right? This is how both things somehow came together.
That's really nice. Is that, yeah, the reactive jammer? Yeah, I think you mentioned. And I think you had an idea that you will be or potentially in the future develop with Python or add like or transfer the framework into like a Python environment.
I mean, I personally don't see any use in that.
Yeah.
I have to admit that when I developed the framework, I didn't know Python back in the day. I knew that it existed, but I never liked the syntax in the past. Now I like it more. And I have to admit that I rewrote a similar framework at work to patch some other firmwares. And yeah, it can be done with a little bit less code than what we do here, but just calling command line tools and so on to build the firmware patches. But in the end, it is just a different language to perform
Yes.
the patching for us, right?
Yes, to be honest, the C was really like Chinese for me when I first see, and even though I learned in school back in like 20 years ago, yeah, reversing firmwares it was difficult to jump into. What would be the best you accomplished or most proud in your career or your journey?
Well, I mean, I think every project that got finished is like a success. But well, back when right after finishing my bachelor thesis with Matthias, we had this project where we extract channel state information on those Wi-Fi chips. And yeah, well, I mean, it's a project that's actually still used by a large community, also in the research field. So I think this can be seen as probably the most successful project.
Yeah, regarding the project I'm most proud of, I would say it's the Wi-Fi jammer, because that really brings everything together you can do on an off-the-shelf Wi-Fi chip. To be able to analyze frames while they are being received, you need to reverse engineer the firmware of the real-time processor. So besides the ARM processor running the firmware to do all the Mac layer stuff, there's also another core that is called the 11 core, and it does all the real-time stuff. So it decides during your receiving a frame what you want to do with it. Do you want to drop it? Do you want to further process it? And so on and so forth. And Francesco Gringoli, one of my favorite research colleagues from Italy, he was reversing those low-level firmwares, and he implemented a first jammer for a Wi-Fi access point. And I thought, yeah, if that is working on an access point, I think we can also make it work on a phone, like a Wi-Fi jammer in your pocket, right? So I went to him, I visited him for a week, and during this 1 week, we developed the reactive jammer, where we are actually receiving frames, deciding during the reception while the frame is still on the air, whether we want to send out some custom waveform to destroy the frame. And it was a very nice work with him. Yeah.
Great. Yes, these proper teamwork yields really nice results. What would be your advice on people who is interested in reverse engineering and say someone is um, interested in C programming or has experience already in C programming and wants to jump in and contribute to your project?
Well, I mean, it's just that you first have to spend a lot of time getting used to how the firmware looks inside, just getting comfortable with searching for certain stuff. Yeah, get used to certain patterns, but it simply takes a bit of time. So you should be fine with first spending, quite some preparation work, I would say, uh, to get into it, and later on, well, it will be really writing the patches and so on. Is isn't that hard at all? It's more the initial start, looking into the firmware that is so challenging, I would say.
Yeah. I would say if you want to start with reverse engineering, just take one of the chips that we already reverse engineered and try to somehow recreate the patch on your own. Like take the firmware from the Raspberry Pi, for example, load it in Ghidra or IDA to see the disassembly and the decompiled versions. Try looking for functions where they are. You can take the references we have in our files in the repository where certain files can be found. Name all those functions, and then you will get an idea where functions are in the firmware. Then write your first patches calling those functions. And I think that would be the best starting point, right?
That's awesome. Let's see what we have here more. And are you guys planning or going to any of the cybersecurity meetups or conferences, either in Germany or anywhere in Europe?
Oh, well, I mean, as I'm still in the progress of doing a PhD, I obviously visit conferences where publications happen. So in case that any of my papers are accepted, I go there and give a talk on it. But apart from this, I'm not really into visiting conferences at the time.
Yeah, that's already a big part of the research. Yes. So yeah, it's good to hear that. Yeah, I was wondering if I can meet up with you at guys at some point in the future. But yeah, I haven't been into any conferences myself, but I'm planning to do. Maybe it will be in 5 years. But yeah, it'd be nice to talk about NetHunter in general. How did reverse engineering affect your overall thinking or problem solving in your life?
I have to admit it helps better understand how things work. And I also have to admit, after university, I was working for a car supplier for electrical control units and so on. And in such a big company, there are a lot of processes and stuff. So sometimes I just wanted to have something fixed by another team providing some kind of binary program and so on. And I have to admit that sometimes it was easier to reverse engineer their code, write a patch, and use the patched version instead of going through the whole process until getting something implemented, which might have only affected a couple of lines of code. But to get something done quickly, reverse engineering is really nice to know, I would say.
Yes, that's a thinking outside of the box, like hacker's mindset comes into play. Yes, I noticed myself in life as well since I started doing like offensive security stuff and learning for the OSCP and just in hacking general since I know Kalinet Hunter that it really changed my thinking how I start solving a problem basically. Yes, and also gave me a bit of passion. For example, any long-term developments, don't give up. You can take a break. That's really important to have breaks. So, don't just give up everything just to kind of supply your ego and because you want to finish as soon as possible. Just keep it in a healthy way. Yes, but it definitely has challenges. and like these checkpoints, and it kind of goes parallel in your life. It kind of mirrors back to your normal life. And how did you manage time, if I can ask? Like, did you do most of these in uni and like daytime, or did you go into like a night passion where you just couldn't stop thinking about it? Or, sometimes ideas come when you don't think about it, or in the middle of the night.
There's one funny story. So when I was working with Francesco, when we were working on the Jammer, we only had this 1 week and we were very passionate about it. So we normally started at 9 in the morning. Then we worked until like 11 almost. So all the restaurants had closed. So I had to go to bed without eating something. Then I continued reverse engineering until 3. And in the next morning, I was awake again and full of adrenaline to continue the work, right? So that was a very passionate time to work on the stuff. I have to admit, you can't do this your full life, right?
Of course.
Otherwise, you might become a bit exhausted, and your wife might become very angry at you that you're not thinking about anything else than reverse engineering anymore, right?
Yeah, happy
Yeah,
wife, happy life.
that's true.
Yeah, so yeah, passion definitely comes into play. And I also noticed that sometimes eating might put you into like a bit relaxed mode, or like it kind of, let's say, it takes away the blood from the brain, goes into your stomach. And yes, you can lose focus. Or what do I need? You need of course, you need the supplement, like the minerals and some kind of electrolytes to keep focused and don't go dizzy. But yeah, I noticed myself as well. Sometimes if I give up to have a little food break, it can definitely affect my thinking. Was the same for you, Jacob? Any different for you? Like any nighttime passion?
Yeah, so I spent quite some nights uh, with reverse engineering and patching and experimentation, also together with Francesco. So I also visited him a couple of times, and yeah, it's just a typical way of working with him when we are together, having late hours and yeah, doing nothing else basically. And also, I mean, yeah. I also spent sometimes a bit too much time on this stuff in order to finish some projects, but yeah, I mean it depends on the current state of the project. Like usually in the beginning and the end of a project, you are more hooked up than in the middle, I think. But yeah, you
Yes,
can
I
say
think.
that that's yeah, there are a lot of nights spent on this.
Yeah, we can all relate to that, definitely. And yes, you need to go over the line to realize where is the line. So yeah, you just need to realize in time, or find it out in time, that when it's too much. Yeah, when you really stop enjoying it, I think that's the time when um yeah, when it's time to stop or have a break. Then you can even have more energy or more, how do you say, like brain power. Do you have any future plans, or what will your next steps? And I know you mentioned already some newer phones, but do you anything in the near future you're planning?
So regarding Nexmon, I mean, I still have a couple of projects in the pipeline, and somewhere I'm waiting for paper acceptances. So until this is done, I obviously can't talk too much about it. But it's going more into the direction of software-defined radio usage of those devices. Um, yeah, and yeah, I mean in general, when new fun phones come out and I find the time, I just enjoy adding at least basic support for Nextmon so that others can use it for whatever.
Good stuff. Yes, we feel the same when there's like a new phone, or even your phones that get support, that it should be NetHunterized. So yes, we want to add our own stuff as well, have a all-in-one toolkit in your pocket without plugging in any adapters. Uh, yeah, I think Matthias, you wanted to go on?
Yeah, how did you find out about Nexmon and what brought you to the idea to integrate it in Kali NetHunter?
So I think the first it was one of the old or one of the first developers who were working on NetHunter, which was either James Christopher or maybe it was Bink Bear.
Daniel
I'm not
Wegemer,
sure.
maybe? Maybe it was Daniel Wegemer,
It
was
could
the
be.
first guys?
It could be. I haven't seen his name, but I know that Nexus 5 was one of the first, yeah, devices that had the support, and it was a big thing as well that you don't need to plug in an adapter. And I think it was a Nexus 7 that was a tablet as well. I'm not sure if that had any injection support, but yeah, it was one of the first devices that got support at all, other than the Samsung S3, I think back then, or S4.
Mhm.
And when
Yeah,
personally,
we felt very honored that you decided to integrate Nexmon into Kali Linux and also Kali NetHunter.
oh yeah, we also were grateful for you doing that. So yes, we don't need to buy separate adapter and carry with us. Oh, and especially in the watch, it was really fun. Uh, yeah, a little side project. And I know it's no, maybe there's only little usage in real scenarios or real attacks where you need to be really stealthy. Say if you're doing red teaming or you are discovering the target's building or place, then it could be useful catching handshakes. You don't need to walk around with your phone. But even the phone alone is a really big help because say you don't need to walk around with a laptop sticking out an adapter or even with the phone sticking out an adapter that's scanning around, but you can just use walk with the phone in your hand like most people do anyway. So yeah, it puts a really big help to the hackers toolset. And personally, I this when I discovered Nexmon, I think it was same time as I discovered Kali NetHunter, because when I was looking through the supported devices, it was already there. And I think it was like 8 years ago, but it was already there. Unfortunately, I had only a budget for a OnePlus 1, which didn't had the support, but yes, I was really aware of Nexmon, and I'm really happy to see these newer devices being supported.
When I started reverse engineering, there was a slide set from the reverse engineers. I think it was from BCMon or from MonMob. I'm not 100% sure. And they stated that the most important thing you should do is get your tools right, because then it's much easier to achieve something. And I think by providing Nexmon, we managed to make firmware patching easy. And with tools like Kali Linux and Kali NetHunter, you make the life of pen testers more easy, right?
Thing is that we should really need to put something together how to enable Wi-Fi for specific devices. So that should be kind of added to the Kali website or the tutorials, like I try to do with the S10. Although for both I added a hijacker support, so if someone is not really interested or used to playing on a terminal, then they can do easier, can access it with a graphical interface. Where can people reach you if they want to find more about you, both of you?
Yeah, I mean, if it's related to Nextmon, easiest is probably to visit the GitHub page and just right there in the discussion or Q&A section.
Yes, that's great. Even though I saw there is probably lots of things to do with replying, I still saw that and that you replied and picked up issues pretty fast compared to some other projects or pages. That's a really good help. Is there any paid projects that or any people that came to you who wants to use Nexmon or implement Nexmon in their project or any similar?
So I mean, there is of course interest of different companies or people that want something, but I mean, for me, it's I mean, I use it for my PhD, so I have to focus on this mainly.
Okay, it was nice to,
Yeah.
nice to have both of you here. Thank you for coming, and hope we can talk next time as well. I think we can also bring in Francesco at some point. I heard his name many times. Is he still also active?
Yeah, he's still active, but he's also always very busy, so might be difficult to get him into something of this format, but I mean, we can ask him.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for showing up. We really thankful you for coming here, and we are happy that you had the time and you made the time for us. See you next time.
Yep. Thank you
See you.
for inviting us.
Thank you. And thank you for the audience for coming. You can find us on X, follow us on the Kali page, GitLab. You can find the links down below in the description.